Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today at your Pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the phenomenon of the globalist sort of propaganda machine, if you like, the information narrative machine that's there to sell or to force globalization upon us and to suppress any dissenting views or questions. Very much part of the globalist project is to create social division in the West, so gender division, racial division, division based on sexual proclivity or preference, any form of trans, any form of division they can cook up. They're into it and funding it, aggressively funding it and pushing it, of course, through the media that they control and through the education institutions and so on. But would people watch propaganda, globalist propaganda, if they knew in advance what it was? Is it okay for anyone, be it the state or a private organization, to force you to watch propaganda along the lines of, let's brainwash these kids or let's brainwash these adults, to force you to watch propaganda? And if you knew it was propaganda in advance, would you watch it? Is it okay to deceive people into watching propaganda on a bait and switch type basis? So, well, this movie's about how beautiful the mountains are, but in fact it's an LGBTQ movie and has a lot of gay sex scenes or something in it, and has propaganda. Anyone that disagrees with it, doesn't like it, is a fascist Nazi, and so on. Yes, so propaganda. Clearly with a purpose in mind. So would people watch it if they knew, and is it okay to deceive people? Now, there's a couple of things I noticed. I came across a couple of articles a few weeks ago, which I don't really think that much about, but it's sort of come back into mind, is where a well-known sort of movie maker come globalist activist, very much part of that activist globalist NGO set. And he says, look, if you want to change people's minds about anything, pro-globalist issues in this case, if you want to change people's mind, if you want to sort of tell people how they're all evil, white Nazi, white supremacist, Hitler, then if you say you're going to produce a movie or create a movie, you have a movie in the movie theaters or anything like that, that's going to touch on the issues of telling all white people they're evil and bad, that if white people, straight white people, know that that's what the movie's about, they won't go. So you have to deceive them. You have to say that the movie's about one thing, but then when they're in the movie theater and they've paid their money, they're probably going to stay, value for money, that sort of thing, and they're going to watch propaganda, and maybe you'll change one mind. So that deception's okay. It's okay. As long as you can convince one straight white person that they're Hitler, you've achieved something wonderful for the universe, is the thinking here. Now, I don't think deception is, if you're getting people to part with their money, I don't think. And a lot of people have to go along with this deception. So you've got to have the movie theater accepts it, the promotional people, the creators. A lot of people have to agree that this sort of deception and duplicity and I would say treachery is quite okay and quite acceptable, because the end result is we're stopping fascists and Nazis, Hitler. And so as long as they invoke that sort of ludicrous and absurd fucking carry on, that they're justifying it to themselves. I mean, you could do all sorts of crazy things with that. We should kill all the whales in the world because they eat fish. And fish is something that humans need. Little babies, mothers who are transgender are having babies. And what if the mother wants to eat fish? So if you kill all the whales, there's more fish for the mother. But if you don't kill the whales, then you're a fucking Nazi. I mean, you could play, there are infinite games that you could play with that, which illustrates the complete absurdity of the argument. Nonetheless, coming back to this idea of deception and propaganda. So I looked around for other articles. There are actually quite a few people out there, whether they be politicians, particularly the activists, the NGOs, the movie makers, the paid propagandists. They want to get a bigger audience for their lies and their duplicity. And they think by deception is one way of doing it. Another way, they sort of, some canvas is forcing people to do it. say, you got to come and watch this propaganda. And they would put that in terms of like a North Korean re-education camp for people that aren't on board with the communist ideology. So, and it is all ideological. So, but going back to another thing, about a year ago, I suppose, I was looking, using a streaming service, and they started a special LGBTQ category, if you like. So you've got various categories like drama and documentary and and they had this LGBT, and so you'd assume that the LGBTQ community and the people that decided to do it would be patting themselves on the back, saying, "Wow, what a great step forward! Look what we've achieved here," and so on. Now, it turns out that only lasted a few months, and they took it down. So I wondered why. I mean, if it's such a great achievement, and this streaming service recognizes the LGBT, we see you and we hear you, LGBT community, and they were really puffing their chest out. They were doing some really progressive, groundbreaking shit by having this category. There's no category for straight white people or Christians or something like that. It's all this is the only. There's a black category and there's a gay category, or gay, lesbian, LGBTQ category. So I was thinking, wow. Didn't really care one way or another. I mean, I'm not looking at those movies, so it doesn't affect me. And people want to go and watch those movies, that's fine with me. I've got no problem with that. But they stopped it, so I did a little bit of digging, and I was umming and ahhing about doing a video on this a while ago, and I thought, nah, it's not really worth it. But given this other stuff, I thought I'd put it together in one video, and I'd sort of written some points on, written up some points for a video, but hadn't finished it, so I went back to it. What had happened was they say these guys get like 100 million views a week on their streaming service, but they only got 10,000 a week on the gay, lesbian, transgender service. Now, this sort of struck me aside. Like, you look at any university survey, and 50% of the girls, the women at young women at university, they claim that they're either gay, lesbian, bi, or trans. You look at the amount of uni kids and that sort of thing, the amount of the NGOs would have you believe that 2 out of every 3 people is gay, lesbian. Obviously it's not that much, but more sort of sane people say that at a very maximum, the gay, lesbian, bi, trans community is 5% of the population and that's at the top end. That's optimistic, sort of. So you wouldn't think the market would be that big, but even as a declaration of look what we've done, look how virtuous we are. We've got this LGBTQ section in our movie or streaming service lineup. And again, I don't care one way or another, but they took it down because there was so few viewers. Now I thought, well, why would that be? Why were you only getting 10,000 a week? I mean, maybe it needed to be built up, but they were advertising the living shit out of it. So I don't think anyone could have missed it. But I guess there's 2 reasons here that they have come up with, and subsequent observations they've released over the ensuing months, is that they firstly, there was hardly anybody looking at it, so why have a sort of separate section? But also, and this is probably more important, is that they determined that if they had a separate category of clearly marked, clearly articulate, they would say in these movies, this is where Jimmy meets Johnny and they have a tempestuous gay love affair, and Jimmy's parents are all Nazis and they don't understand. It'd be some description like that, but it's very, very clear what the movie was about, or a lesbian movie. It doesn't matter. So trans. I mean, really the plot was always the same: a trans person, lesbian person, gay person, and all the people around them are Nazis, and that's always the plot. And also, the gay or lesbian boyfriend or girlfriend or whoever is then murdered by gangs of Nazis everywhere, Nazis. It's an imaginary dystopia. These people, and that there are just gangs of Nazis running around randomly killing people. They do the same with the race stuff. That as a black person, you can't even go outside the door because white supremacists, Nazis will kill you. It's all quite absurd. Anyway, it's got its own category. You take the category down. So, but those same movies were then, so they cancelled the LGBTQ category for movies. And then they just put those movies out into other categories, like into drama movie, or they nearly all went to drama. But so I remembered because they kept the photograph, they kept like the front page of the movie, or the photograph of the movie. So I remember that. That was that gay movie, and what's that all about? So they move this into the drama section or that sort of stuff, but they take away the description. So instead of that it's a tempestuous affair of gay or lesbian or trans or this or that, instead of that, they then redo the struggles of a young man as he comes to find his place in the world or something. Something like that. It's fairly inane. Now that's not the sort of movie I would sort of look at, but nonetheless. So they've taken away the description, so they're not saying that it's a gay lesbian movie anymore, and they're inferring. In fact, they've taken out all references to gay lesbian. Now, to me, that's a gross deception. That's in my, because if I'm looking at what movie will I look at or not look at, I'm going to look at the synopsis. There's like a one sentence type synopsis. And you click on it, then you get 3 or 4 sentence type synopsis, and that's where you make the decision: do I want to watch this movie? Or in the case of, say, going to movie theatre, do I want to pay the money or download the movie and pay the $5 or something? So by not saying what the movie's about, they're in my view, they're intentionally tricking, deceiving viewers into watching propaganda, which they believe is acceptable. We have to change the minds of all these people. 2 or 3% of the population. We have to change the minds of all the other people because they're the Nazis. They're all Nazis. We're the morally superior people, so we have the right to change their minds, change the minds of those damn fucking Nazi Hitlers. And so they perceive they have every right, not every right, but it is their duty. They are obliged to do this sort of thing, morally obliged. And they certainly get a lot of support from the globalist funded NGOs and activist groups and activist front groups. Also, a lot of taxpayer money goes into this as well, without the taxpayers' knowledge or consent, by the way. But so this is something that concerns me about, for example. Some may say that the Disney movies are chock full of woke, propaganda of all sorts, and that they're pushing this on kids, but without saying it. Like, there was a warning at the beginning that lots of woke propaganda in this cartoon. We're saying it's for kids, but really it's fucking globalist woke bullshit propaganda. Parents, there'd be millions upon millions of parents wouldn't let their kids watch it, or wouldn't buy it, or wouldn't download it or go to the theater or anything like that. So instead of saying that, they pretend it's something else and then insert the propaganda, hoping that the adults won't notice, or saying, well, there you go. If you've got a problem with it, you're a damn fucking Nazi. So there you go. That just proves the point. We need this propaganda to change your minds. You fucking Nazi. So that's really their mindset on this. And you notice it now in everything, how the first episode in, say, a series, like a mini series or TV series or something, the first episode is usually pretty okay. There's nothing much in it. But by the time they think they've got you hooked into watching it, that's where they whammo. They hit you with the propaganda, which invariably is race hustling, LGBTQ hustling, gender hustling. So that the men the white men are all wife bashing, child abusing, racist, Nazi, fascists, and the women and the minorities, the black people, the gay people are all, vastly superior morally and in every other imaginable way. So, I mean, here's one where it was a 3-part series. First series where it was pretty much as you'd expect. It was about a STEM research laboratory that was working on a new sort of cure for cancer type thing, and so the guy in charge of the research is straight white male, and his assistant is straight white male. The chief engineer in the things a straight white. It's kind of the guy in charge of the complex is a straight white male, and pretty much as you'd expect. Probably a few more minorities than maybe you would anticipate in that sort of situation. But hey, there's no big deal. Now, I wouldn't have called it great, but it was good enough to watch. I thought, okay, well, I'll watch the second episode, and some days later I went back to it, and and the propaganda just come wham straight out at you. So it turns out that the guy, the straight white male in charge, he is a fucking moron. He doesn't even know what doesn't know what day it is. Doesn't know. Really, the person that knows about it all, who's really going to do the invention, it's the white lesbian that works there. Oh yeah, she's the one. She's the one. The straight white man, the second in charge guy, straight white man, doesn't know shit. Doesn't know shit. She's the one. She knows it front, back, and center, and they're just straight white male. One of them's a Christian too. Hey, what a fucking Nazi! And so now the real engineering genius in the place, it's the black chick, who, by the way, she puts the straight white males in their place. One of them decides to, grab a bit of ass and act a bit tough towards some of the other women there. The black chick kicks his ass, and she doesn't even break a sweat. He may be a bodybuilder who's 3 times bigger than her. Makes no difference. She kicks his ass right around the room and back again. And he is helpless. He is helpless. She's so dominant, and she's of course black and a lesbian as well. There you go. Talk about the box ticking. Another straight white male who's got some sort of supervisory role. All he does is prey upon the helpless, diminutive, little, frail women that work there. There's a real oversupply of small, frail women there, and he preys upon them and demands that they give him sexual favors, or else they're a fucking Nazi, and so on. So on it went, and women were just superior in every way. The men were inferior in every way, morally inferior, physically inferior, intellectually inferior, and it was this imaginary leftist utopia of the future where all the straight white males are flushed out as being Nazis, and all the women and the black women and the lesbians and the gays they're shown to be, quite rightfully, by the way, in charge, because they will lead us to this Marxist paradise in the sky. They and only they can do that. Those damn straight white male Nazis, and that's what they all are. Hey. So this is so they insert this propaganda. If I'd known what the second episode was going to be like, or that they were trying to bait me in to watch it and then switch the whole thing just pivots and off they go with this insane, ridiculous propaganda, then I wouldn't have bothered watching it. So they're either taking my money or taking my time, and many other people, of course, through this deception. And I've got a problem with that. Just say what the fuck the movie or the series or the TV series is about. I want to know if a black lesbian is going to be in it. As soon as I see that, I'm not going to watch it. But this is their whole point, to say, well, if the straight white male Billy Bobs of the world know what's in it, they won't watch it, and then we can't hit them over the head with the propaganda, and therefore it's kind of a wasted effort. So really, they're not doing it as entertainment for the gay lesbian community. I guess it might be that, but they're not doing it. That's not really the purpose of it. Sure, it might there might be a secondary sort of benefit. Their real purpose is to push propaganda on the straight white males and the white people of the world. You've been with Tacitus today, your pushback channel. Thank you for listening.